Hey, this is Adam from Exile here in Berlin, New Hampshire. I'm here with my partner Nikolai, and we're going to kind of just take a minute to introduce who we are and what our vision is for this restaurant here in Berlin, New Hampshire on our main street. Go ahead, Nikolai.
So I first came to the picture on February 28th when Adam unfortunately had to close his doors to this restaurant. And I personally couldn't let that happen just because, again, I've been coming here since I moved here in 2021. And this is one of the newest restaurants, one of the newest places in the entire city. And it was so unfortunate that I heard on Facebook that he was shutting down. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, how is this happening? Like, this is literally one of the best restaurants around here, if not the best. And I couldn't let that happen. So I came in here shortly after and told Adam that I would work with him to create, hopefully, a plan for the future going forward and hopefully revitalize Exile in some sort of fashion. And now we've gotten to a point where we have an amazing idea going forward, and not only just Exile, but also something very, very new, which this area hasn't seen in a very, very long time. So all these things are going to be born here, and we're going to be working together to make sure that this is a success, and also to hopefully restart some other businesses in this area to keep our main streets alive.
Yeah. And the thing that stuck out to me about Nikolai was the day that he came in was our last day that we closed. And I'll never forget, like, he came in, ordered his food, and asked, like, that he wanted to talk to me if I had a minute. And it was, it was busy. Again, our last week was our busiest week we've ever had, and our last day was the busiest in-store we ever had. So we were swamped. We were full of emotion, and I had already met with a lot of our fans and like favorite customers that are like family to us all throughout that day, just being bombarded.
I saw a bunch of them myself.
Yeah,
it was tons of people.
Right, like it was just a lot of emotion going through 5 years of just these relationships that we built. So the thing that stuck out with me regarding Nikolai is that, like, he really did want to talk to me. Like, he waited an hour at least while I was cooking food and like helping in the kitchen and like just taking it all in. And I see him out there, and he's still there, and I think we were near closing or very close to closing the doors for the final time. And he told me just what you said. He wanted to do what he could to help, either reopen or keep this place open. And somebody that had been filled with emotions to get to that point, to have to close, you build up this tolerance of like wishful thinking from other folks, and you take it in, but you don't really actually think that it's going to lead somewhere. I was kind of aware of Nikolai before just because of his videos on becoming Iron Man, but never on a personal level. We have personal connections, personal friends that are dear to both of us. And that's kind of the feeling of a small town in a small city is you do know each other through 1 or 2 degrees of separations, and that's beautiful, and that's what I loved. That's what I've taken away from my 5 years. 5 years ago today, I didn't know a third, a tenth of the people that I've had interactions with that have made my life better, have made my family's lives better, and so when I've seen Nikolai and his passion and his energy, for wanting to save this, it brought me back to that same energy that I had when we opened. Everything is told me don't do this, you can't get the financing. You're opening at the beginning of the pandemic, people aren't going to work. You're not going to have a hard time. You're going to have a hard time filling these things. You're not going to be able to afford it. And we went ahead with it. We did open, and I don't regret that one bit at all, because of the communicate or the feeling of community that I received from this, and just the experiences of running a business and running a restaurant, and that's a lot of like time, effort that I put into it. So when Nikolai came in, I was skeptical still, not in a negative way or in a cynical way, just, a lot of folks want to do this. And the more that he kept in contact and kept, showing interest, it hit me at some point that, like, he's in the same place that I am. And for somebody that is passionate about what I've experienced and how I have felt locked out of owning a business and locked out of these traditional financing methods, you know, it hit me like, I don't have the capital, but I do have the building. I have some resources that I can bring to this table, and to have somebody that's not of my generation, you know, what does it mean to me if I'm not willing to take the risk that I was hoping to receive from the people above me that had influence on me? Who am I if I'm not willing to take that risk? If I have something to give and he has the passion and the drive to take over running the restaurant and providing not just the restaurant, but the other things that we have in store for the community. Because at the end of the day, what the world is missing today that my generation had as a kid and previous generations had as kids are a third space. And to me, I always wanted Exile Burrito to be that third space, but I didn't have the tools and the resources and the knowledge to make that happen. And when I say third space, like, what do we mean when we say third space?
So when we say third space, we're more in the lines of like just a place that people can either, you know, especially people that are like in high school or in college or even in middle school, it can come and just relax, to keep them off the streets. You know, we understand that this is a very rough area. There's not a lot of opportunity up here at the moment. And it makes it hard for people, especially people that grow up here, to feel encouraged and to have, you know, some kind of direction in life. And sometimes that leads to bad places, and we have full understanding of that. So it's our goal to create a space where people can just, you know, relax, have a good time, connect with other people, and have a place that they can just, you know, chill out. And, you know, let's just say we talked about the idea of having just like a printer here, you know, for kids that like, you know, the library is closed, they don't have a printer at home, they can just come out here and print out an assignment, you know, something like that, that just an extra layer of, you know, of help for people that just don't necessarily have it around, you know. And just also creating a space where kids can just, you know, hang out and have a good time. We have a great idea for the back room, which I'll be in. I mean, I have a great idea for it. I've wanted to do it for a while. And, you know, now that I'm working with Adam, we're, I mean, fully on board with just making all this kind of come together in one beautiful establishment. It's going to have so much more than just the food. Yeah. But the food will be really good though.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, for sure.
We have a great idea.
And to go back to that, like, I'm so passionate to see Nikolai's vision and how much it keeps the heart of Exile intact. You know, he talked about having a space for like kids to come and you know, it may sound simple, but like a place to print stuff off. But as I've grown and I've watched my kids grow, I've watched my 16-year-old Atticus, like once he got his license, this was his space. He would come here to do his homework, to work on his college applications, to work on like his graphic design stuff, or just to be somewhere not home. You know, we used to have malls, we used to have arcades, we used to have, you know, whatever it may be, and we don't have that. And that's the one thing that you can't buy on the internet. That's, you know, we all love our phones and watching videos, but we all also have a deep natural desire to be in the company of others, you know? Yeah. And so Nikolai, his vision, you know, and my vision come together, you know, with the hope that as we move forward and as more people, you know, see our vision, that it can correct those things that are possible with regards to closing down in the first place. You know, food cost is one thing, but it was also the fact that I was full-time at another job, and that we didn't have that core general manager to take care of the books and the non-pretty stuff. Yeah. You know, being here, you know, when we're open to make sure the operation is running great. I have awesome managers and awesome staff, but when you don't have the ownership, you know, it's hard for people to, it's hard for things to run the way that would be the most efficient. So, you know, Nikolai coming in with the energy, but more importantly, is on the business side, the understanding that like it's him that's going to be here day in and day out, as I was when I began. And my role in this is to make sure to give the tools that are needed, you know, the back end stuff, and just be here as, you know, as a support on the backside to help with whatever may need help. But that's the difference. That's what has driven me to give this a chance, is that, again, the core of who we are as Exile is understanding what it means to own a business in this economy and in this time, and the importance of like sticking our necks out, you know, hearkening back to that day and time of like the handshake deal. Like, we talk about that. That's almost a narrative in the fabric of America, is that like, if you have the passion, the drive, there's gonna be somebody there to back you up. And we don't have that anymore. All we have is us. And to me, that is why we're sitting here. That's why I'm sitting in front of a camera that I don't feel comfortable doing on a regular basis. But it is bigger than me, because I see that the impact that I've had in the past 5 years with the people of this community, it shouldn't die. And if I let this opportunity go to waste, then I'm not living up to my own morals and what I want to see for the future. So,
well, and I've told you, I mean, we've talked about this repeatedly now. It's like the power is in our hands. Like, the people have the power, and Adam has obviously a tremendous impact on this area in terms of just giving people opportunity, giving people second chances. Like, you know, to have not just like a restaurant die that's on Main Street, but to have a place that people have opportunity and people can see a future, not just for like the area, but for themselves. To have that die out is so tremendously unfortunate. And I just, like I said, when I heard that it was shutting down, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, first of all, thinking about like, okay, why are they shutting down? And then secondly, thinking about all the people who are now gonna be affected by the shutdown, thinking like, you know, oh my God, like, you know, I hope like nothing happened to Adam. I hope nothing happened to like the family. And then thinking of like, oh my God, like, you know, all these people are gonna have to get new jobs. Like, it's just, it's so unfortunate to see a business struggle like that due to just pure economic factors like, you know, inflation and food pricing. You know, he released a video that we posted on Facebook on his main restaurant page that just that he actually recorded the day of closing, that just encapsulated his frustration with how like these businesses are perfectly fine with raising up prices, you know, 5, 10, 15% in inflation, and affecting all these small restaurant owners that are now suffering to stay open because they can't afford the prices. They can't afford paying on that kind of inflation, you know, with just making whatever profit they can. And I fully understand that. When he explained that to me, it just like, it broke my heart, because it's like, okay, that's terrible for us, but what does that mean for everyone else? What does that mean for the rest of the country who's affected by it? Like, we're not the only people that are struggling with this. And I just refuse to let it keep happening. Like, as much as I can do to keep a place like this up and available and running, like, I'm willing to do it, because I'm so sick of seeing, you know, the economy screw people like Adam over, who have ideas and who have passion and who have a voice in the community. And for that to be silenced by the economy just infuriates me on a whole different level. And at this point, I'm ready to dedicate and put everything on the line to make sure that this never goes out of business again, and this stays as a restaurant that will continue to grow and continue to give people the opportunity that they originally saw coming here. And not just for the restaurant, but to coming to this city, this, you know, this awesome city, which needs a lot of work, but it has the potential. You know, it used to be there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people just didn't care enough, and now it's in the position it's in. But I hope that we can be an example of people who want to see this place grow, who want to see Berlin itself grow and become the shining beacon of the North that it used to be. That is still possible. Yeah. But it's up to us. Yeah. You know, we have to do something about it.
And I think it's important to describe where is Berlin, New Hampshire? What defines Berlin, New Hampshire? You know, and why is it so great? Well, many people can relate to, no matter if you're watching this in, you know, Kansas or you're watching this in California, we all know of like communities that we once saw as booming or heard that were booming and bustling, and in the last 30, 40 years, these communities, you know, have been hit by the shift from local economies to global economies, and that impacts on every level, from lending to shopping to public spaces, like that. We all know that story. We all know that story. We all can relate to that, even if you've never lived in a community like that. You know that story, and here we are. We are here, where the rubber meets the road. We're doing our best. We're doing our generation's part to keep that vision, that story alive. And it was hard with the idea of asking for help from folks to donate, to fund this community with the community. Yeah. But at the same time, this at this moment is kind of our only option in a lot of ways. Is that we have to think outside of the box and
come together.
Yeah, and that's what it's been like for the last 5 years. You talk to any restaurant owner, it's all about that. We've all the pivots that we've had to do, and we all have adapted to this idea of that. A pivot means we have to figure out when we're gonna close, what days we're gonna stay open. At what point do we raise prices, or at what point do we take menu items off the items off the menu? There's a lot that goes into it, but we're willing to make that happen. They're not easy decisions, but it has to be done, and it has to be done so that we can keep just one more restaurant open in Berlin, and one more space for older person to come in and weekly and share how their cancer treatment is going, share about how their granddaughter who just had a traumatic brain issue, and they get to come in and just share that with people. That is what, it's so much bigger than burritos and burgers. It's those people that we get to meet. Yeah. And be a part of their lives in some way or not, and it doesn't always have to be that deep. But those are the things that get lost when places close.
And I was here the day they closed. I was here for actually a few of the days of the week they were closing, and I firsthand witnessed those connections. I witnessed people literally on the verge of tears, coming in, asking, are you really closing? Is this really the last day? I had to witness that, and to see a community so passionate about a business in general, not just for Adam or for the food, but just for the idea. And to say that yes, we are closing, you're not going to be able to come back here, that is so unbelievably tragic. And again, we hate being in the position to ask people for money. It's not a good position to be in. We don't enjoy it, but it's our only option. If traditional banks and financial institutions aren't going to back us, who will? Who's going to be the person to help us? And I have, thankfully for me, a large global presence with my Ironman content. So I'm going to be using that voice and that presence to hopefully put a spotlight on this restaurant, and hopefully, get people to see that I see something so much bigger than just food with this. This is so much bigger than that. This is a whole community that, is consistently losing businesses in the area, a community that's consistently, moving away because this area is lacking in so many things. And one of those things is businesses don't last, and it's something that we're hoping to change. We're hoping to pivot that in the opposite direction. But we got to start somewhere, and we hope that with this fundraiser, we can bring this place back and not just have it be exactly how it used to be. We're revitalizing the menu. We have a whole new business structure for this place. We're actually going to have a whole other business within this business that's going to be open and available to the public, which we're so excited to talk about. And have a lot of new features that we've never looked into with this restaurant. When we came together and just put all our ideas on the table and figured out, okay, this is what didn't work, this is what's worked for other people. We came up with so many ideas for this one spot. And once we start getting donations, we're gonna start, pumping out the content and showing you guys where your donations are going and what we're actually doing with the money, being okay, this is a shout out to, Adam, James, and Jeff. Like, you guys like donated this much, and today we're working on this. Like, you guys are going to be able to see where your money is going and where that contribution and that passion is going to. Because, like I said, we have so many ideas right now, and all we need is the community to come together and help us out, because no one else will.
Yeah, and I think a good place to close is what is your vision of success? So I'm going to share what I see.
Yeah.
What I see as what it means to be successful. If we're able to make this happen, success to me is being able to harness the community love that is felt not just for Exile, but the idea that we can rally around each other. And success to me is being able to, put into action the desire to make sure that we're paying our employees, $15 an hour. This money is going to help us to have that catalyst to let our actions speak for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, like, you could see me on the screen, you can see Nikolai on the screen, but this is just who we are. If you want to know a person's character, ask about us, ask who, think of it as an opportunity to like find out what is the story of Exile, what is the story that came to us opening, and success to me is we talked about this, like giving people the opportunity to buy in at the ground level of like of something that's revolutionary, that you could say, oh, I was a fan before this, like I actually donated to keep this alive, because we're all looking for that opportunity for service. And it's crazy because in this period of time where we don't know what's going to happen within the economy, it's insane to think that we're trying to crowdsource and ask people for money when like we are all struggling just to survive.
Yeah.
And to me, if I can't give you enough of a reason to, maybe take the money you'd spend on a Big Mac meal from McDonald's, $10, $15, and just, take that amount of money and put it into the idea that, I can give a little bit to make a big impact, and to be a part of something that like you'll be able to tell your kids about, that's pretty cool. Like,
that's pretty cool. That's
what success, and the success is to inspire others, not necessarily to crowdfund or in that way, but to show like authenticity is what powers, people's motivation to make a change and be part of a change.
Yeah.
And I think before anything else, that authenticity comes from looking at who we are as individuals and where our hearts really lie, and I know for a fact that, the people that I've met would be, would back that idea that I do have a love and a passion for Berlin that is very, very real, I guess. So what does success look like for you?
So success to me is basically being a real world example of what happens when no one's going to help you. What happens when the traditional means of, getting money and the traditional means of getting support, what if those aren't available to you? What are you going to do? My idea of success is being in the worst position in general, not just financial, but being in the worst position possible and somehow making it out, somehow prevailing against all the odds. That is my definition of success. And right now, the odds are not in our favor. Like, traditional financial institutions will not help us. And we're closed. We're not open right now. Like, we're in the middle of a recession. Like, the odds are completely not in our favor. But if we can come together and work together on getting this back up and running in a whole new fashion, that will be revolutionary, not just for us, but to show other businesses that this is possible. Like, even if you can't get the backing, like, there are ways to get yourself back up and running. Like, there are ways to continue and to become even more than you were in the first place. Like that's what I hope that we can do here. We can use the power of community to basically have a completely out of the box way of funding that will bring us back, which will eliminate our need for getting help from any kind of financial institutions. That's my idea of success, and paralleling off of what Adam said, giving people the hope that, you know, like we're back and like there's a home for you again. Like there's people that again are asking, that have actually come in here while we're recording these videos asking if we're open. And it's so sad to say that we're closed. You know, it's so sad to say that like it's terrible. I literally have it on recording, like people coming into the door. You know,
as we're trying to, you know,
make these, like
reopen.
And it's just, you know, my idea of success is not only being an example of coming out of the worst position possible and prevailing, but also again giving people the hope that, you know, the community, there's hope for the community. Like if the community can come together and help one small business succeed, I mean, that's revolutionary. That means it can be done for any community. And I think once people understand that, it's going to really change people's perspective. A lot of people assume that, oh, I can't get a loan from the bank for $10,000. It's over. Not necessarily. It's like, you know, use your voice, use your community. Like, you know, if you have people that know you all over the place, it's like, you'd be surprised at who's willing to help you. Like I've come in, again, a bunch of times with people coming in here asking like, hey, Adam, if you need any help with anything, like, let me know. Like that's power. And that's something you can't buy. Like that is seriously something that is so natural and is so
it's just elementary to like the spirit, the American spirit, right? Like
yeah, it really
in community.
You know, it's like again when we were talking about like I don't know if it was you and me, but like I was talking to about like the Revolutionary War and like, you know, all the patriots that were like in America who when the British came over, like, yeah, so this is your new king, and we're all just like, no, he's not. Like this is our land, you know? Like it's just like that's where we're at. We're basically like saying we don't care to the status quo. We don't care that we're in the worst position possible in terms of economy and things aren't on our side. We don't care. We're gonna try anyway, and we're gonna keep going regardless.
And we're gonna prove that like the narrative of this just extreme individualism and this narrative of like, you know, we just got to bootstrap ourselves up is something that is so out of whack and is just so self-serving. You know, like to me, the idea of, you know, pretending that we're all just, if we work hard enough, you know, in isolation, we can make anything happen. That's possible, but it's not very likely to.
Not likely.
And to me, this is proudly showing that, like, you know, I don't need to be held up as somebody that made something happen out of thin air. I didn't. I needed family. I needed my wife to be able to care for our children. And, you know, leading up to this, looking to the point of opening 5 years ago, you know, I was the face of the restaurant opening, but my wife was taking care of my, 90-plus-year-old grandmother who's, you know, going through dementia, and my father who, you know, passed away. Like, both these people in my life, you know, not only did I lose, but like my newly married wife was like vital to their existence while taking care of, you know, our 6 children, including a newborn. She was thrown into this, and like, she has just as much reason for us to be able to open back then on opening day as I do. And like, not only that, it goes back to like, you know, I can't take credit for this because I was given a break by Sylvia, who bought this building, and her selflessness of like giving it to somebody that she knew was gonna do something with it other than being empty. I couldn't, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have been open. If City Hall didn't just, you know, at least hear me out at a council meeting and say, the tax bill that's due is a lot. You know, I live in the community. I pay taxes in this community. I support this community, and my vision is to help keep one restaurant open on Main Street, just one more. And they heard that, and they did cut some of the taxes off. Not all of them, but they did do that. Like, it takes a community to do this, you know? And so I know when people come up and say, what can I do to help? What can we do? You know, like, we don't want you to close, giving us all these ideas, giving us these leads, you know, even like, you know, being heard by Senator Hassan, that was a big thing for me. Like, I'm a huge fan of like learning about American civics and learning about how our country differs, our Constitution differs from other places. And when we were shut out of COVID funds, like, I reached out to Senator Hassan and she replied back to me, and we ended up working something out that I got to be a part of lobbying for getting startups that started up during COVID, you know, some sort of financial relief. I was a part of that. I am so proud of that.
Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't just that helped with our success, and it wasn't just me again. But I got to see representative democracy firsthand, and like, that is something I will never forget, and my kids will never forget, and my grandchildren will learn about when they come. You know, like, I showed up, but I didn't show up alone. I had people behind us. So that is my American dream, and to me, taking the step to try to reopen is passing that on, is giving somebody a hand up, because we're not looking for a handout. Giving a hand up, lowering the ladder that was lifted on us, you know, in the last 40 years, lowering that ladder to say that, no, I'm not gonna put my own, you know, worry for my finances over my role and responsibility as a member of this community. And to feel the spirit of in the vision that Nikolai has, this, I couldn't at least make this opportunity to try, and that's why we're here today. If this is something that you guys feel is worth your time and your money, we can make this happen, and we can change not just Berlin, but hopefully give inspiration to other communities as well.
Yep. So again, we're going to be, before I leave though, I just want to leave with a quick quote. I heard this, I don't know where I heard it from, but it was actually a very inspiring quote. You can't say you own a business if you do it alone. And it is very true, because eventually you're going to need help. And, you know, there is typically a limit with growth that, you know, you are going to have to find people that are going to want to support you, and you're going to need that help at some point, inevitably, when you're growing a business. And I think that, you know, Adam, like, we're at that point, you know, and I'm glad I came here at the right time. I wish I came here sooner, but, you know, I think that things were meant to be. And I think that, you know, again, we can be an example of a business that struggled, that died and came back stronger than even before, because of just partnership and trust and faith that, you know, our community, there's a lot of love for us in our community. And we hope that, you know, listening to us talk and introduce ourselves and getting to know us has been helpful to you. And again, we're appreciative for any donation. We have a GoFundMe right now that is going to be probably linked in this video, and it's also going to be on our Facebook page. So we're very thankful to anyone who donates, and for anyone who donates over $100 or more, we're going to be putting your name actually on our brick wall, which goes all the way down the right side of the building, just so you can be part of history. And also with that, do you think you actually came up with an idea?
Yeah.
Which I'll let you talk about.
So I think the idea of having a tier system of adding a donor's name to the wall, you know, for every $100 they donate is not a new concept or anything like that. But I think in the spirit of exile and who we are as a community, I thought, you know, what would be better than just putting somebody's name on the wall? To me, I think if you want to donate $100, I think, and you really buy into what we're, you know, what our vision is, instead of putting your own name, putting the name of somebody that inspires you and has changed your life for the positive. Because really, like, that's what we're doing here is you guys are taking, you know, at least listening to us, you know, at the bare minimum. But if you're going to put money, you know, towards this in a time like now, you know, it's so important to have that gratitude for the people that have allowed you to be in that place, to be able to make those donations, or even just inspire you to be a better neighbor and a better member in the community, a brother, sister, better daughter, you know, child, grandchild, grandfather. You know, that to me is the true heart of who we are as the vision in a community, is to put, you know, not to take anything away from putting somebody's name, just you know, who has really taken the time to think who has really helped me, you know, who has done something to make me have the success that I have, you know, in this world. So I think that's what we're hoping to get out of this.
So with that, thank you so much. If you've watched this video to the end, we're gonna be posting videos basically highlighting the construction of our restaurant and the revitalization of it. So we're gonna be posting weekly videos to show you guys basically where all your contributions are going. So thank you so much for your continued support. Please feel free to share this video with someone you love or someone you know. Again, any help is greatly appreciated.
And if you have questions too, drop your questions in the comments below. And if there's something that sticks out to you that you want to know more about, anything, put it down there. It could be in our videos, you know, moving forward, because honestly, that's what we want to hear is what, you know, what do you guys want to know?
Yeah, so we again are open to any kind of questions, and we would love to answer those. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you guys soon.